Synth Network.
Hello, welcome, and this is episode 60 for the Pro Synth Network. I double checked before we started. That's how I am so confident that we are now in our about to begin our 7th decade of shows. It is Friday the 28th of May. We're a little bit late, but that's fine because we're not bound by any rules or regulations here. We're very freeform, as the saying goes, and we've got a great show lined up for you today. Got plenty of news topics to talk about. We do have to make some apologies, and we're going to send all of our love, and appreciate it if you did the same, to Cryss, who has unfortunately seems to have succumbed to the side effects of his COVID-19 jab. Yay for getting the jab, boo for getting a little bit sick. So he hopes that he can join us at some point in the show, in the chat room at least. But we have a substitute. We've called him off the bench. He's been sat waiting, ready to come along at a moment's notice, and he has not let us down. So this week we are joined, obviously, by Ben Simpson. We have Simon Alexander stepping in for Cryss, and our guest is none other than Mr. Should we use that term, Mr. Suit and Tie Guy? Yeah, let's Suit and Tie Guy. Here we are. Hello, welcome everyone.
Yeah, Mr. Suit and Tie Guy is fine. You can,
there we go. We'll call you Sir. Welcome, and so here we are. Simon, first of all, let's come to you. Thanks for stepping in at the last minute. Hope we didn't interrupt a leisurely evening for you.
No, not at all. Always a pleasure to come on and
jolly good.
Say hello to everyone. Yeah, hi.
And let's go to our guest. Whereabouts are you in the US of A?
I am in central Illinois. I am in a town called Chillicothe, which is about 15 miles north of Peoria. None of this probably means anything to most people, but it's on the Illinois River, and we've got a lot of towboat traffic that goes through here.
Cool.
There's two different railroad. Well, there's a railroad that crosses the river here, and then there's another railroad that goes up and down, but cars can't cross the river. You got to go 20 miles either way.
Wow.
To get across the river.
So isolated then?
Not really. I mean, it's 2.5 hours to the lakefront.
Okay.
That's the term for, how far. Like, people in the Chicagoland area will refer to, like, something as being a certain number of minutes or hours from the lakefront.
Okay.
Being, like, lakefront equals downtown.
Yeah.
So I'm 2.5 hours from the lakefront, and I'm 3 hours from the Gateway Arch in St. Louis. So I don't consider this out of the way at all. This is actually a prime location for any kind of travel that I need to do, or I like living here as much as I like not being here.
And we find you in your studio. Is this at home, or is this somewhere else?
This is my facility.
Your facility.
Oh, very good.
You know when you're dealing with the big guys when they have a facility.
Well. I have a facility, but I still live with my parents, so I can have a facility.
Gotcha. Yeah. No.
I hope it's underground. It's got to be underground.
No, there's drapes at the back, so there must be windows. Listen, welcome.
That's the street. Sorry.
Okay, no. Welcome, and it's great to have you here. Thanks ever so much for joining us. You were saying earlier before we came on air, this is like kind of one of the first times you've done something like this. Is that right?
No, I've been on the Sonic Talk several times.
Oh, yes.
That was with this cell phone thing.
Gotcha.
And a like a Bluetooth headset.
Oh, wow.
And so this is the first time that I get to do this over a fiber optic internet connection, with a video mixer, and like if you want, we could take a look at my oscilloscope.
Yeah. Look at that.
Wow.
That's my oscilloscope.
Yes.
Like that matters. Anyway, showing off my technology, right?
I can tell our viewers that they're in for a visual treat because we've been privileged to see some of the camera shots you've got lined up for us.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite camera.
Well, it takes you back to about 1993, doesn't it? It's,
I'm a big Max Headroom fan. I love talking to people from 20 minutes into the future.
Yeah,
that's what this is. Okay,
we need to fix you up with a Fairlight CVI, don't we, to get that?
It's okay. It's okay. I've been told that the Fairlight CVI was not actually used on Max Headroom a lot.
No, it wasn't. I don't think. Yeah.
But no, Max Headroom, as far as like visual, electronic visual video, like video art goes, very, very important TV series. Also,
yes, absolutely.
I think that I think the two most important TV series of all time are Max Headroom and The Prisoner.
Okay, yeah, no, I
Doctor Who being a close.
Yeah.
Oh.
See that?
Oh. Time Lord stuff.
Yep. Seal a Wrestle on cufflinks. I wear them every day.
Oh, amazing. Brilliant. So anyway, thank you for coming. We'll come to you and we'll talk to you about your career and the things that you've got going on in the world of STG Labs and Knobcon and everything else. We'll have plenty of time for that.
Cool.
Before we do, let's go to our regular co-host, Mr. Ben Simpson, who's looking a little bit splendiferous in full 1080p as he's just only discovered that he can have that setting.
Yeah, in true me fashion, I've been on the lowest quality setting that my camera would do since we started, and it was only when you was explaining to Simon before that you could turn this up that I stumbled across a setting on my own system. So I'm in more detail than usual. You can see all my wrinkles now.
I know,
scars.
And the glare off the top there is just...
Yeah.
No. It's good. Well done. And thanks for coming along as always. We've got a packed show. We've got some interesting news topics to discuss, and of course we've got a super interesting guest to delve into. If you want to ask any questions of Mr. Suit and Tie Guy, then please do put them into the chat room. Just make sure that you tag either myself or Ben or even Simon. If Simon's in there, I think yes he is. So just tag one of us in there, and then that way we'll be able to pick them out. I know that Ben and Simon have probably got some questions already lined up, so that's good. But please do add those in there. And before we kind of crack into the meat of the show, let's just get some of the housekeeping stuff out of the way. So you can, of course, if you haven't already, join us on our Facebook page, which if you just search for Pro Synth Network, you'll find us on Facebook. We're also on Instagram and Twitter under the same handle, so if you want to follow us there, please do. And of course, I guess most of you are watching us on YouTube already. If you are, please do make sure that you subscribe and also hit that bell to get notifications. The more subscribers we have, the more opportunities we have of hopefully making a little bit of income to keep us going. But in the meantime, if you want to make a donation to us, we are super grateful, and we do get a number of donations throughout every week. It's fantastic. We love you for doing it, and it's keeping us on air and in such high quality. The link is in the description underneath the video if you want to click on something, but it's there on screen if you need it. Cutly/PSN-donate. That will take you through to our PayPal donation page, and you can make a donation there, which will help keep us going. So thank you for those in advance. So yeah, I think that's kind of all the housekeeping stuff done and out of the way. We can crack on. Let's do, before we kind of get into talking to Suit, should we call him? Let's do some news topics.
I am okay with Suit.
Okay, cool. So let's get our first thing up. This is what I was really hoping that Cryss would be on the show, as he normally is, because this first topic, he's kind of got some skin in the game, shall we say. So this is the Sensel Morph. Sensel, the company, have released or expanded a pack of presets to use with their MPE controller. And I'm sure if you've watched the show previously, you'll have seen Cryss demonstrating this. It looks like, this is kind of a little silver square with these replaceable overlays, and there's one in the style of a Buchla there, and you can have them with kind of regular piano style keys or drum pads, various different things that you can do, and you just slap the overlay on top of this thing, and it's this touch controller. But of course it transmits MPE, which is all the rage at the moment, and they have a pack of presets that they're completely free. All you got to do is just sign up, give them your email, and you'll get these presets that you can use on various applications and synthesizers, which are all listed just down there. You can see those. So you've got things like Generate and Pendulate from Newfangled Audio, Ableton Live 11, of course the ASM Hydra Synth. There's plenty of Arturia stuff that responds to that, Bitwig Studio, and so on and so forth. Now, myself and Ben and Simon don't have a Sensel morph, which is why we really hoped that Cryss would be able to tell us a bit more about this. But in his absence, I'm sure. Well, I see Cryss is in the chat room, so maybe he'll put some opinions in there. But Ben, Simon, did either of you have a look at this? Does this kind of controller interest you? Is this something that tickles your fancy?
I had a look at it, especially when I found out Cryss wasn't going to be on. I looked at it more desperately than I would have done normally, and it is a good, it's a great thing. It's kind of like a giant trackpad that has the rubber overlays that go over, and they can do different jobs, and the level of control that you can get on it is really, really good. It's really sensitive. When I was watching the demonstration with the Hydra synth, I thought this is great. This is better than the keyboard, the Hydra synth's poly aftertouch keyboard. Because you can slide up the keys as well and get different effects with that and all. So even if you've got the keyboard Hydra synth, it's still worth having. I don't know if it's as good as say a Rolly Seaboard or something, but it's really good. It's affordable. The overlays I think the overlays are only $29 or whatever each, so you can't really argue with that. But this is all about a bunch of presets that they've given out for free, isn't it? That's come, and I was listening to those, and they're all right. They're not anything special, but it's very kind of this drum and bass industrial kind of style of preset that I could hear anyway. It wasn't really for me, but good on them for giving out free stuff to encourage you to
well, I guess if you're gonna sell an MPE controller, you want to be able to kind of show what it can do. So let's get some presets. According to their website, the presets are available for Audio Damage Quanta, Madrona Labs Alto, Bitwig Studio, Sonic Lab Fundamental, Arturia Pigments, Live 11, Serum, Hydra Synth, as I said, Newfangled Audio's Generate and Pendulate Synth, Vital, and some others in there as well. I don't have anything that is MPE, so I've not entered into that world. Simon, do you have any MPE stuff in your little Infinite Synth Cave? Oh, I did Infinite Synth Cave. Do you have anything there?
I don't know, because I don't know whether the update for the Super 6 has finally got it on it. So I can't answer that question.
But does this interest you?
Bearing in mind, I had a very short time to listen to the demos. I tend to agree with what Ben says. I mean, they're okay. MPE, I think, is. I think it's going to take a little bit of a time for everyone to catch on with it. It's been out there, and I know MIDI version 2, and everyone's saying, the scope of MPE is quite big. I just think that for me, it's not something that I think I'd go crazy to go out and get one of these controllers just to have the ability to move my fingers up and down the keys and articulate and change the sound the way they've done. I mean, I take it fully on board that it sounds nice, but too much of it I think would be probably a little bit sort of overwhelming. So it's good, but it's not something that I can see a mass of people sort of running out and getting an MPE controller because they're desperate to make those type of sounds. I mean, I might be wrong, but I guess because I've been non-MPE for 40 odd years, I just don't. I can't really see. But yeah, it's good. And I'm glad they're developing MIDI. It's 40 years long overdue.
Yeah.
So,
still going strong. Mr. Suit and Tiger, are you an MPE aficionado?
Or did you just ask me if I used MPE?
Yeah, is that part of your world?
No, basically MPE is something that's for the world of computer USB MIDI stuff, and I basically I do use USB MIDI, but only with hardware. And as far as the MPE thing goes, I associate that with controllers that are the kind of devices that I don't play. I play keyboards.
Okay.
If it has a keyboard, I can play it. I don't play things with pads and ribbons and these alternative controllers or whatever. So I don't even understand MPE other than like Amos told me last week that MPE devices, the MPE expects a pitch bend range of 24 semitones. So, I'm not exactly the person to ask. There is a Sensel user here. You see that guy, the guy walking around the back?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's got a Sensel with the Thunder overlay and the keyboard. He actually has the Dvorak keyboard overlay.
Fucking rules.
And if you want to
is he one of the village people?
If you want to talk to him about the Sensel, he's got a lot to say about it because he uses it with structure in his. He uses it for his video synthesis.
Okay.
But I'm not. I have nothing to add to the conversation. I'm very sorry.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
No, it's a versatile thing because Cryss has often kind of dropped it into the conversation in shows, and it looks like this really cool little thing that has multiple functionality in terms of either using it like the Thunder overlay, or there's a drum cat overlay, so you can use it for playing drums in that fashion. There's obviously the keyboard overlay, and it can also be used for non-musical things as well, which MPE is kind of reaching out into those worlds. So it's very interesting. But credit to Sensel.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
Has anybody used the Thunder controller in any form, whether it be the Sensel Morph or on a Buchla or anything? Because that looks so confusing to me. I just can't make head and a tail of that at all.
This guy right here.
Yeah.
Can you use it?
I bought my Sensel for the Thunder overlay.
This is crazy. I love this. Here you go.
Yeah.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Bubba.
Hi, Bubba.
All right, mate.
Hey guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me jump in.
Is the roof about to cave in there? What's with the yellow hat?
These are our hard hats. So we're down the street from the most important machinery company to ever exist, Caterpillar.
Okay.
And, I love bulldozers. I love construction equipment. I just think that's just the neatest thing. The most powerful tools of the human will are the synthesizer and the bulldozer. So we do these hard hats that say STG Labs on them with the old Caterpillar logo.
Awesome.
As a reference to our neighbors. But anyways, the Sensel Morph with the Thunder controller is amazing.
Yeah.
It's super fun. It's super tactile. I like tactile things. I like to be able to grab something and feel my way into a thing. So I use it with a video module, Eurorack video module called Structure from Erogenous Tones. And they're great. It's super fun for that because everything that I do with the Structure, like it changes all the time. I'm always changing, like whether I'm doing raster processing or feedback or generating video images and stuff. And I just grab the Sensel every time, and the Sensel can change. The patches change, but having something that's not just a row of generic sliders and a row of generic knobs is really nice because, like, if I've got a simulated video mixer, for example, or a simulated mixer, I can group the controls in the unit, in the Structure, around where it makes sense for me to put my hand a certain way.
Right.
So like different gestures mean different things. I haven't played a real Thunder, but a buddy of ours, a couple hours away, has two of them.
Wow.
And I really want to, because the thing that the Sensel didn't copy on the Morph overlay is all of the extra stuff. Like, you can do a ton of really interesting things with a Thunder. It's got like arpeggiators and stuff, and you can do all these super, super detailed MIDI processes to what you're playing and based on how you gesturize. And I just think that's super nifty. But yeah, for what I do, I just set everything, all of the pads on my Sensel are CCs, and I can use it to just control whatever. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I've done a bunch of shows with it now. It's amazing. And I, like, as Suit mentioned, I even bought the Dvorak like typey keyboard for it. Because I wanted to use it to control the text generator in my structure. But it didn't quite pan out. Because the keyboard overlay is, I think it's actually like a Bluetooth specific, sorry, this is way off topic, but it's some kind of Bluetooth specific thing. And so the structure doesn't pick it up, and when my phone picks it up, it doesn't respect the Dvorak overlay. And that, wow, you will never see me get so upset over something security and the fact that my Dvorak overlay doesn't work with my darn phone. But yeah, I am a huge, huge Sensel Morph freak. I have not even tried to plug it into an MPE device. I don't know if I've been in the same room as an MPE device since the last Knobcon. But yeah, Sensel Morph, big fan. Thank you.
No, thank you for your input. It is most valuable. It's great that we have somebody who actually used one and can wax lyrical. Yeah. Thank you, Bubba. Much appreciated. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. So there you go. Sensel have released this pack. It's free to get from morph.sensel.com. You just all you have to do is just hand over your email address. So kind of free. And there you go. So, and if you want to buy a Sensel Morph, tough, because according to their website, they're temporarily sold out. Such is the demand for their awesomeness. But
how much are they anyway?
They're not hugely expensive, I don't think. I'm just trying to find the prices here. Because they're sold out, they're not giving me a price. Yeah. Maybe Cryss can tell us in the chat room, seeing as he bought one. I don't think they're ridiculously expensive, and then you just buy the overlays as and when. I think the overlay prices vary depending on which one you get. But yeah, so there you go. Sensel Morph, new free MPE presets available now. Let's move on to the next topic, which let's do a bit of hardware here. So this one was sent to us by Cryss again. And this is from Strymon. So we know Strymon as this wonderful manufacturer of effects pedals that are kind of blurring the lines between guitar and keyboard use quite nicely. But they've just released this new product, which I'm just trying desperately to find the page of. Here we go. So this is Conduit. Now, Conduit is a MIDI hub, but it's a MIDI hub for your pedals. It's $149, and you have a MIDI in and an out port, and you've also got USB on there. And then you've got these 4 TRS jacks, which you can then, if you can just bring this up here. I'll tell you what, why don't we watch the video? That would be easier, because then the video actually shows us what is going on. Let me just bring that up. There we go, Strymon Conduit. Let's play the demo. Is it going? Oh, here we go. There we go. So, bidirectional TRS MIDI interface. 4 independently configurable TRS jacks. And you can send preset changes to your entire pedal board. So, whether you're a guitarist or a keyboardist that are using some of these Strymon effects, or any effects, I guess, you can now MIDI control them. And you can daisy chain them. So I think that's enough of that. Strymon seem to be knocking out of the park with every little thing that they do, whether it's a pedal or some really useful device such as this. Again, we're missing our resident pedal expert. It just seems to be this if, of all the shows he was going to get sick for, this was the one he really didn't want to be sick for. But anyway, does anybody in the room use Strymon pedals or pedals of any kind? And would this be something that you might find useful?
I've got one, but I mean, I don't play live. It's more of a, it's going to have to be more of a live thing. But it's generally, I thought it was, looking at the video and the presentation, I thought it was a really good idea. But surely it's more of a live thing.
Yeah.
That's what Kent's just put up, about,
didn't
realise.
How far behind the times is he? Yeah.
Again, 150 quid for a little box with a PCB in it, probably the size of a postage stamp. I mean, look, I take on board fully there's a bit of R&D in it, but I just think that's a little heavy on the price, really, for what it is. It's a great idea, a great addition if you're going to go live, and I'm sure Cryss, exactly. Just a bit pricey for me, I thought, but a good idea.
But again, Strymon are premium quality, so I guess you're kind of paying for something that's very well built and I just think this is a
box with a MIDI in and out on it. It's a box with a MIDI in and out on it. For me,
it's the way it's the way it interfaces with the TRS jacks as well. I didn't fully understand what exactly how it was doing what it was doing. I just enjoyed that it was doing it. But MIDI and pedals, as Cryss has pointed out, is becoming increasingly popular and common, and I've seen a lot of that. Get your drinks ready with the CME WIDI masters. A lot of guitarists are buying these to use on their pedals. So yeah, it certainly seems to be a burgeoning market. Sue, do you use guitar pedals in your rig at all? Is that something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
This right here is an amazing reverb written by one of the founders of Strymon, and then he left Strymon and started a company called Muris.
Okay.
And it's his attempt to copy the Lexicon 224.
Okay.
And right now I've got my I have this CS60 running through it, and I think it sounds fantastic.
It does sound.
So do I.
I can explain the need for TRS MIDI with guitar pedals if you want. I mean,
go for it.
Okay, so the Strymon pedals do not have they don't have regular hold on. Here we go. They do not have regular DIN MIDI connectors on them. What they have are expression pedal connectors that can double its MIDI. Okay.
Oh, you're breaking up.
So
you're going to.
Oh, am I coming out? Ah, damn it. That sucks. I really wanted to walk around you. Okay. So
you can walk, just not go too far.
Yeah. Well, I got this wireless thing for I really wanted to be kind of silly here.
The way it blended into the two pictures was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm using a hardware video mixer here.
That was really good.
Yeah, it does. There's an auto take function, so I can, and there's a transition time. So if I set the transition time to 4 seconds, then the transition time is.
Oh, look at that.
4 seconds, right?
That's really
and
cool.
If I set the
get one of
transition
them.
time to half of a second, the transition time is half of a second. And I can use this T-bar if I want.
You got a T-bar. I always wanted something with a T-bar on because it's like Millennium Falcon style, isn't it?
Well, okay, so side note. Okay, so I used to work in TV. Okay. And if you're wondering, like, how did he go from like a cell phone to this immediately? And it's like, well, most people don't realize that I actually have a background in news.
Right.
I worked in newspapers and television news before I built synthesizers. Okay.
Right.
So whenever someone sees that I'm rather skeptical of television or print journalists. It doesn't come from nowhere. I used to work with these people.
Yeah,
okay? So we actually had the Grass Valley desk at. Okay, so it was on 9/11. Okay, around 9/11, I was working in a TV station on 9/11. Okay,
wow.
It was a UHF ABC affiliate. Now I don't know what that means in Britain, because you've got BBC 1, 2, 3, and then you've got the ITC or ITV stations or whatever.
Yeah, regional stuff.
Okay, so in the United States, the way it worked is you had two different bands, VHF and UHF, and VHF was channels like 2 through 13 or something, and then like UHF was channels like 14 through 98 or something like that. Okay, and I worked at a UHF ABC affiliate. Okay, so UHF is like lower tier. Okay.
Yeah.
VHF was only in big markets. That's why the Weird Al Yankovic movie UHF is called UHF. Like, it doesn't mean a lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense to people nowadays because so much has changed in television. But the context of U62 being a UHF station is very important to that story. Anyway, we had the Grass Valley desk that was used in the Death Star control room.
Oh wow!
For Star Wars, like now not the same desk, right?
Yeah.
But it was the same model of Grass Valley video switcher that was used for that scene. Okay, so that scene in Star Wars that was actually shot in a TV station.
Wow.
And something very impressive about Rogue One is when they constructed a set for the Death Star fire control room, they somehow managed to fit. They managed to make all of the elements that were shown in Star Wars to be part of the Death Star fire control room that were completely different locations. They constructed a set that actually made sense of all of it.
Yeah.
And it was very impressive. That was absolutely the best of the Disney Star Wars movies.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I love having a T-bar.
Yay!
I love having a T-bar. I love having multiple camera angles. I collect television cameras, actually.
Wow.
I plan on using them, but anyway, we were talking about something, right? Oh yeah,
Strymon.
Anyway, right. Okay, so TRS MIDI is very important in the Strymon pedals because basically that's how you get MIDI into a Strymon pedal.
Yeah.
Synthesizer people are used to TRS MIDI over 3.5 and 2.5 millimeter connectors. I actually physically retch when I see them. Okay, it actually drives me nuts to see 3.5 or God forbid 2.5 MIDI over TRS. But quarter-inch TRS for MIDI bothers me less because it's a more robust connector.
Yeah.
So yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense that Strymon would make this. This is a very small MIDI interface solution. And just to let you know, it's not cheap to develop something like this.
No.
And it may seem like you can just slap it together, but when you start incorporating USB into your products, complexity level goes up, and so does the cost of development. You have to buy an ID. Manufacturer ID, so that things show up properly and whatnot. And I've investigated using USB MIDI, and eventually I will because I do like it. It is faster than DIN MIDI. It's not burdened by the transmission rates imposed by opto isolators, which are essentially Vactorals in your MIDI signal.
Yeah.
But no, I think that for guitar players and for people with Strymon pedals, this product makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Do you know if all the Strymon stuff implements or can implement TRS? I mean, I know obviously the new stuff, but the stuff like the Big Sky that's been out for a while and the stuff before, has that all got it in there? Do you know?
Yeah, all of it does.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
but like you say, it does make sense because I mean, I work in the secure identity business, and through that job, I get to speak to people that deal with access control as well as CCTV and that kind of thing. And we started to build access control equipment that used RS-485 because that was the same connectivity that was being used in the CCTV world, and therefore it just made everything so much easier and cheaper if an engineer could turn up with just one set of cables that fitted both his readers and his cameras and everything. And so likewise with this, if you're building guitar pedals, you've probably got 1/4-inch jacks coming out of your ears. You might as well use that for your MIDI protocol as well. It's going to hopefully, just reduce your costs and just make things a lot simpler. But I mentioned the wireless MIDI thing that's the CME WIDI Master. They've just actually launched a 1/4-inch to I think it's 2.5 jack, so you can use their little WIDI jack units on guitar pedals that don't have regular MIDI, that have TRS MIDI. So it's clearly a common thing. But yeah, Ben, any thoughts on this one?
I think it's like a more high-end product, because I know like guitarists are essentially lazy and stupid. So they will want something to do all the work for them, and they'll want something that won't get it wrong. So like MIDI changes on a guitar pedal are
I can hear Cryss typing away.
I can smell the burning keyboards.
But the guitarists I work with are also poor, and so they go for these all-in-one things that does have MIDI on it, but like something like the Boss ME50 or whatever, that's good enough for them low lives. But I can see high-end people like really going for this. It seems as though it's well made. It is a little bit on the expensive side, like Simon said, but yeah, I mean, Cryss has probably got his on order already, hasn't he? Should imagine.
That's if Cryss is talking to you anymore. But no, it looks like a handy little piece of kit, and I think that if we're pro Synth Network, but not the pro Guitar Network, so I guess if we've got people that are using Strymon hardware and other other guitar type pedals with their keyboard rigs that use TRS MIDI, then this just makes absolute sense to be able to control all of those, and it does work with other manufacturers' products as well. So that is useful. So if you want to purchase one of those, you can purchase it direct from Strymon, strymon.net. It's $149 US. I don't know if I'm sure that there are European and other global distributors around, but yeah, have a look on there, strymon.net. For the Conduit MIDI hub. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that when we've got Cryss back on the show, hopefully next week.
Yeah.
Right, so let's see. Let's get rid of that. Let's do one more quick news topic, and then we'll crack on with talking to our guest about his career and what he's done and what he's doing and all that kind of stuff. Should we talk free stuff? Let's talk a little bit free stuff here.
Yes.
We all like free stuff, and some of the best free stuff that we often have a look at is stuff from Spitfire Audio when they release new items into their Labs range, and they have done just that just the other day. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Bass guitar, which sounds kind of normal for a Spitfire Labs library, because it's normally slightly unusual left field instruments, but this is a really, really nice bass guitar. Let's just have a listen to a little excerpt. This has been recorded by Spitfire Audio's Leo Wyatt and reamped through a vintage Ampeg at Hackney's Premises Studios. 4 presets, 7 controls. Again, if you're making music on a computer and you are strapped for cash, or maybe even just hard drive real estate, then I don't think you can do much better than this. Sounds very nice, that. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah.
It's free.
It's free. It's free. It sounds really, really good. It's a little bit limited there's four sounds. There's like two warm basses. One that's no, I like bassists. They're all right.
I was just saying, do you want to alienate any other musicians while we're here?
No, bassists are the unsung heroes of music, I reckon. Yeah. So you've got two sounds. One's a warm sound, and I can't remember what they've called the other one, but it's more percussive. And there's an amped version and a DI'd version.
Yeah.
Of each one, and the DI version is a little bit crisper and percussive, whereas the amped one is a little bit more rounded and a bit warmer. Anyway, they're really good. The only issue I had with it was that it doesn't like legato in any kind of way. It's always the same kind of sound that's coming out every time. So if you play quickly, I would have liked that to be less percussive than like that you're whacking it with your finger or a pleck or whatever. But it is really, really good, especially considering it's free, and it'll add a good quality bass end to any track really. And you do get a little bit nitpicky, don't you? But you can't really complain at something this quality being free. It's great.
No, absolutely.
It's great.
And the thing is, like you say, it's small, it's compact, and it's free. You're not going to get the range of expression that you might get from, say, a big sampled bass pack, or even a modelled bass thing. I tend to use Modo bass from IK. And that has just so many different variations, not only just in terms of the instrument, but pickup positions and all. I don't know what half of this stuff does, but it sounds great and it sounds natural, which is what you want. But I guess if you just want a bass guitar and you want it free, you can't really go wrong. Simon, I mean, got anything else to say other than it's good because it's free? Or
well, I mean, it's Spitfire, isn't it? I mean, have they done anything really that you can say, well, that's not good?
Not yet, I don't think.
No, it's I think everything that they do on the labs is very good but limited, and I think it's obviously designed to be that way. But
absolutely. So, are you a samples user? Do you like all? Are you exclusively hardware?
I don't use soft synths.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
No, that's no problem. So we shan't ask you about this. But if you want this, it is labs.spitfireaudio.com. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it's good fun. So if you are looking for a cheap, affordable, sampled acoustic, electric bass, that's for you. Right, let's knock the news topics on the head now. Let's get into the meat of the discussion, the meat of the show. So, Mr. Suit and Tie Guy is with us this evening. We've heard about your background in news and TV media. Let's focus on the musical stuff. So, so you left the TV world behind to get into making analog synthesizers. What was the germ? Where did that start from? What was the seed that germinated into what we see today?
Well, I was just always into synthesizers. When I was in high school, I heard Emerson, Lake and Palmer when I was two things happened that were kind of important when I was a freshman. Okay. I heard. Okay, can you hear me fine?
Yep.
Cool, excellent. I moved the receiver for this.
Cool.
So, no, two things happened. I heard Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and I saw Doctor Who. And those are kind of important to me. And because of ELP, I was like, listen, I had heard synthesizers before that. Mainly Tomita when I was in junior high. I heard Tomita in junior high. I love Tomita. Tomita was probably like, I mean, I liked Wendy Carlos. She's fine, but Tomita is much more important to me.
I hear you.
And there's just something about, there's something about what he did that speaks to me more. I find I love what Wendy does. My favorite Wendy Carlos album, however, is Beauty and the Beast. I actually am not into the analog stuff.
Okay.
Which may surprise some people because I build analog Moog format modular synthesizers, right? I'm going to move this camera or this microphone out of the way. I'm more comfortable talking with this headset.
Yeah, that's cool.
To be honest, I like the way that microphone sounds, but I don't like the stand that it's on. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of handling noise on that stand because the mic isn't shock mounted. So.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I just always playing with, you know. When I was in high school, I got into sequence. You know, like basically, I got a computer that we could get a Sound Blaster Pro card for it. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm usually able to talk. For some reason, I'm not today.
It's okay. You're amongst
I got a
friends.
Sound Blaster Pro card, and I went from using a computer to play video games to using a computer to create art. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when you cross over from using a computer to play games to using a computer to create art, I think a lot of people have that experience. And after you cross over past that threshold, then it changes your life, and then you can mm-hmm. be a much more creative. It's like the time that you spent playing around on a computer, and people don't really do that nowadays because they carry these things in their pockets all the time, like some sort of dystopian science fiction novel. But I mean, I may not look like it, or maybe I do, but I am old enough to have loaded programs onto my Atari 800 XL from cassette tape mm-hmm. that I bought in the discount bin at Sears. Yeah. Okay, so you know, I have this long relationship with, you know, computers. I never got into programming because my brain does not work like that. You have to have a certain kind of brain mm-hmm. to do computer programming. You cannot just learn to code. Okay, that does not work. That is a completely unrealistic goal unless you being a good computer programmer requires. I can't do that stuff. Okay.
Sure.
I'm more about aesthetics and user experience and the concept of things.
What sort of year would this have been? So
this was early 90s. Early 90s.
Right, okay. That's when you kind of started to get into this sort of genre of computers and music and stuff.
And all the music that I made when I was in high school was done with a 386. Wow. 20 megahertz 386. Didn't mm-hmm. even have a Mathcro processor running Voyager Sequencer Plus. Mm-hmm. And then I got Windows, and I got PowerTracks Pro for that. The scroll, it's called what's it called? A piano roll in MIDI sequence.
Piano roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on PowerTracks Pro. It was amazing. It was called the staff roll. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And it had, it was like, in this axis, it was like manuscript paper, but in this axis, it was like a piano roll. Mm-hmm. So it was great. It was so musical because you could look at the notes like musical notes, not little like bars on a grid. Mm-hmm. Okay. It was an incredible user interface, and I haven't really seen a MIDI when I go to plug MIDI into anything now. I just get frustrated because I don't have the staff roll like I had in PowerTracks.
Yeah.
I don't like I don't like the piano roll in anything except for the Akai Force, and I only like the piano roll in that because it's good for breakbeats. I can't use it for music.
What DAW are you using now? What do you use now?
DAW?
Or do you not use a DAW?
A DAW. Oh, sorry. I thought you said door, and I think
it's my DAW.
It was the Liverpool thing. Yeah. Caught me off guard, right? No, I've been using Digital Performer since 1998. So, okay. I mean, the first version of Performer I used was Digital Performer 2.7. Mm-hmm. And I stopped at 7. So I'm on 7.24. I use OS 10.95. I use Adobe Creative Suite 3. I have no desire to jump into this El Kappa Mojave what's-his face. I don't know anything about this stuff other than Apple continuously tries to they're constantly trying to take the Macintosh and change it from a tool for professionals into like a toaster or a home appliance. Yeah. And since I don't use soft synth and I don't use plugins that didn't come with Performer because I want absolute forward compatibility. Yeah. I can load up projects that I made in 1999 in Performer and load them in 2021. And they load fine because I don't, the only projects that don't load right are the ones that had the fancy third-party plugins that I used for a short period of time. Until I had a bad experience with a plugin developer. He had given me an NFR of a product, and I had a computer crash that blew out my registration key, and I went and asked for help, and this guy decided that he didn't like me anymore and told me to pound sand. So, and like...
So are you still backing stuff up on floppy disks?
Now?
Yeah. How are you saving? I mean, if you're still using this old kit...
I'm old kit. I'm using a 2012 Mac Pro, dude.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were using that.
No, I'm not using an 800 XL for music. No. I was going to ask you. I forgot to ask if that bass guitar plugin was available for the Amstrad. But I forgot to ask that question, right?
So that was your kind of introduction to it there.
Yeah.
What brought you into the world of making hardware, analog hardware?
That was by accident.
Okay.
I just okay. So I was involved. Are you guys familiar with numerology?
Kind of.
512.com.
No.
Okay, it's the best MIDI sequencer for the Macintosh. Okay. And it's at FIVE12.com. It's called Numerology. It's been around since 2002. It is a modular sequencing environment and audio unit host.
Oh.
Okay.
And I was half the development team for 4 years until 2005 or so, and I basically realized that it was like it's one of my best friends wrote it. One of the most brilliant men I know. His name's Jim Coker. But I realized in 2005 that numerology was never going to be able to. We were never going to get to the point where it was an unrealistic expectation that I was going to be able to do that for a living in software. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I was like trying to do I produced a rap. I was doing like record mastering and like drum replacement for local bands and I produced a Dirty South rap album. Are you gentlemen familiar with the style of the Dirty South?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for some reason, some young men here in Peoria decided that they needed to make Dirty South music.
Okay.
And okay, yeah. I guess so. I mean, I guess South can be south of anything. I guess.
Yeah.
So I helped make some. They stiffed me. They didn't pay me what they were supposed to pay me.
Right.
They ripped me off, and I was going to use that money to buy a synthesizers.com system because I was obsessed with Redshift at the time and Tangerine Dream.
Mm-hmm.
And so, even though like Emerson, Lake and Palmer made me want to play a modular synth, like Emerson, Lake and Palmer made me interested in the sound of a Moog modular synthesizer, but it was Tangerine Dream that made me want to play a Moog modular synthesizer. Right. Okay, because I knew I was never going to be, there's only one Keith Emerson ever. There's never going to be another Keith Emerson, and I was never foolish enough to think that I was going to be another Keith Emerson. Okay, like why would? It's an unrealistic expectation. Okay, so I was going to take the money that I made from producing this rap album and then dump it into a synthesizers.com system, and they wound up paying me gas money or something, right? And so I started getting into synth DIY stuff and like building. I was building like Ray Wilson modules, and I learned the goal was originally that I was going to build a synthesizers.com system, but make my own Moog 901 oscillators for it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then none of those things happened. Okay. None of those things happened. The brilliant guy that I was working with on the oscillators, who recently died of cancer. Oh dear. Rest in peace, Paul Brooks. Who I didn't get to see him the last few years of his life. But anyway, no, I wound up everything went sideways. Everything that I planned on doing just went, and I was left with a gigantic time and money investment in synth DIY, and I'd learned I'd learned everything about the art in the old Moog systems. I had figured out every font, I'd gone to Bradley University and taken apart their system and taken photos of it, and meticulously copied all the styles of tick marks and whatnot. And I basically got to the point where I had no studio left. All I had left was my beloved Eventide 3000 and a Kai S5000 sampler and one Hammond organ and one Leslie. Okay. And I was like, and here I am, I'm working part-time at a newspaper 40 minutes away from me. Okay. And working in my mom's coffee shop, and I have to sell something. So I made I'm gonna go get it. I made a front panel for synthesizers.com people to, because like at the time in 2005 there was no quantizer in Roger Eric's product line. So I made, let's see if is this going to focus? I don't know if this.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. So here. So what this is this is, I better hide from this. It's looking for my eyes. The camera is too smart. Okay, so this was a front panel so that people could like take the dope for a quantizer and put it in synthesizers.com format.
Okay.
And I sold a bunch of these. And this right here, this is in a C frame. And this was actually made from the last version of the Moog C frame. It has this cutout right here, which Moog was planning on doing some computer integration in the modular line and in the late 70s, and this cutout right here was for that. But anyway, I didn't sell it with the C frame. Somebody who bought this panel from me had these C frames made for Mike Buckeye back when he thought Mike Buckeye was actually going to deliver product to him. Guy still owes him like 12 envelope generators and God knows what else. And yeah, he sent this back to me so that I could see the C frame. So this is the only one I have left of like my first product. Okay. And then after that product, I don't know, people just asked me to do stuff, like, hey, like that was a nice panel. Like, could you make me a gate delay? And I was like, which one? The Yves Usson gate delay. Okay. So I emailed Yves, who's a very, very, very nice gentleman, very smart, very kind. And I said, Yves, somebody wants me to make this for them. Okay. Do you mind? And he's like, no, just give me one unit and make sure that my name's on the PCB. I was like, okay, cool. And so I did that, and then somebody asked for his wave no, somebody asked for his ARP filter, and then somebody asked for his wave folder. His wave folder was actually Jürgen Habel's wave folder, and I worked it out with Jürgen before he passed away. And as far as I know, I'm the only person that makes a Jürgen Habel wave folder. Okay. If somebody else does, I'd like to know about it. But like, if you want to see what the Habel wave folder looks like, it's right here. So this is the yellow is the input to it. That's a triangle wave.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then okay, so this is so it's kind of like a sine shaper. I calibrate it so that this should be 0 gain, okay? And as you turn the gain up, then you get like this potato chip waveform, right? I guess you call them crisps over there, right? It's the crisp waveform. And then you can you can bias the input up and down.
Okay.
And get different shapes that way. And then this is a feedback of the. So that's a feedback in the fold mix, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's really cool. And so I was fortunate to I was fortunate enough to have people suggest some important things, and then I had and then I started having my own ideas. And I was working with a really an excellent layout engineer and a designer named Joe Grisso, and we did the and most of my stuff he's the engineer. He was the engineer and I was the product developer.
Right.
And now things are a little different, and I'm working with I still work with him when I can, but I've had to diversify in my engineering resource portfolio. So the oscillator that I sell was engineered by WMD, and this wave slicer, I think it's called, this thing right here. So this wave slicer, it was engineered by John Sonnenberg. He did a great job on it. And do you guys remember Livewire Electronics?
The name rings a bell.
Livewire synthesizers. Okay, so the American Eurorack market started out with 2 companies, Livewire and Plan B. You've heard of Plan B?
No, can't say I have.
Oh, okay, wild. So those guys basically started the American Eurorack market, and Livewire was Mike Brown and Steve Reitner, and then Mike Brown developed cancer and died, and Steve inherited the business from him. And Steve has taught himself how to do layout, and he's been working on some stuff for me, and it's kind of cool. So cool. Like the circling back to because like in 2000 2006 there was only like that period 2006 2008 there was only there was Doepfer, there's analog solution Doepfer, Analog Systems, Analog Solutions, okay? That was the Eurorack, and then the Americans came in, Plan B and Livewire, and then everybody else jumped in. I think that I believe Make Noise was January of 2008.
Right.
And I remember, when I saw Tony's first module, I was recovering from a broken ankle, and I was high on Vicaprofen, and I was high on painkillers, and I might have been using bourbon to accelerate it. And I called Tony and I said, listen, I think you should, here's some stuff you should be aware of in this market, okay? Mm-hmm. And he followed all my advice, and now he has like 12 employees in a building, and
Cool.
And he's able to afford to buy my Jupiter 8, which is no longer here because he bought it.
Oh, wow. Because those go for a pretty penny these days.
Oh, yeah. I needed to do something very expensive, so
that's a sacrifice.
So I sold my Jupiter 8. I'm not gonna. I cannot sell. Most of this stuff. I'll just say that.
Oh, right, yeah.
So
will you replace the Jupiter 8 at a later date, or is that it? Are you done with that now?
I don't know. Like if I make something like what you see on the screen, there are some very small systems. And here's one. I've actually got it in my hand. If you could bring that up.
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have not gotten the hang of this whole camera, this automatic camera thing. This is so weird. Anyway, so this is a little system I'm calling Radiophonic 3. Okay?
Yeah.
So I've got, Radiophonic 1, which was named because I just thought it would be cheeky. Had the Sea Devils filter and the Moog mixer and my wave slicer in it. And then I made something I'm calling Radiophonic 2. And I'm just basically calling these systems that are, okay, so this is do you recognize this shape here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a Moog Mother 32 boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these are actually, this system is in a rebadged, it says Moog underneath here. Okay.
Oh God.
Well, do you have a better idea? Because
yeah.
My better idea is what I sold my Jupiter 8 to do, which is that I'm having these extrusions. I'm having an extrusion made that's compatible with this.
Yeah.
That's going to be my extrusion.
Excellent. Yeah.
And when I have my own extrusion, then I can build I can build all sorts of Eurorack systems. So I've basically been slowly building foundation for 15 years.
Sure.
And a lot of people they've been a lot more successful than I am. And I'm not jealous or anything. I'm just making the observation. Okay.
Noted.
But what I've been doing is I've been building foundation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which you need. Yeah.
And I have what I believe this right here is the most technologically advanced analog oscillator in the modular synthesizer market. Okay.
Wow.
And I say that because it has more computer in it than analog oscillator circuitry. It actually has these knobs here. These are potentiometers, and they control the octave and semitone. So there's a microprocessor in here that actually scans these controls and generates the octave and semitone offsets, or puts it into the low mode or the wide mode. The microprocessor also sets the width of this detune control. Okay. And then this thing right here is labeled the drift generator. And what it is it is a random smoothed function generator, unlike anyone else's. Like, this function generator does not exist outside of this module as far as I'm aware, because it is a linear random function generator, where each segment has a TNH lookup table applied to it, so that's absolutely smooth from point to point.
Right.
And so that is also generated by the microcontroller. It uses a very expensive 4-channel 12-bit DAC and an ARM micro, Acorn. You guys know Acorn, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Most people, they hear ARM, they don't know what ARM came from, right?
Yeah.
ARM's
ARM's about 30 minutes from where I live.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, does Acorn still exist?
I don't think so.
Wasn't it like basically, okay, so do most, I don't know, I'm kind of a nerd about this, but basically Acorn made the BBC Micro.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Acorn started making computers, and they
Yep.
developed a RISC processor that they called
Yep.
the Acorn RISC machine,
Yep.
right? Or ARM, right?
Mhm.
And for the longest time, back in the '90s, if you wanted to run Sibelius, you had to buy a British computer to do
Yeah.
so, right?
Yeah.
And then now Sibelius runs on the Macintosh and whatever. I don't use Sibelius. That was just something that I remembered from back when that's the way things were, right?
Yeah.
I've just been and like this, this envelope generator right here. This is digital. It's a digital modeling envelope generator. It models the Moog 911 ADSR. It models the EMS Synthi 100 trapezoid, not the VCS3 trapezoid, which is much simpler. But the one in the Synthi 100, and it has voltage control of. It's got voltage control of all the stages. And the curve, and then it has gate outputs for all the stages, and then it has the 2 outputs that are necessary so you can do the Synthi 100 thing.
Right.
And while right now I'm just building these what Peter Zinoviev would have called a pathetic little synthesizer, right?
So
I've never heard a guy just diss his own shit like that, right?
Well, that's very English. Ben, did you have a question from Cryss? Because Cryss actually had some questions lined up for today, and there was one I remember about this use of digital technology within what Suit's doing. Can you elaborate?
I'm just looking for it now. He said Suit's known for his analog modular stuff, but what are his thoughts on the use of digital modular synthesizers? No, some of his modules employ digital hardware like envelopes, as we just heard.
We've just heard, yeah. So you're blending, digital with analog, and I'm self-confessed. I am not a modular person, as you can tell. There's no modular in here, so I'm really no expert on this. But when somebody said to me that you're using digital technology in Eurorack and things, it was almost like you were like putting two things together that shouldn't ever be put together, and people would get quite angry if you did. But clearly, as you've just very eloquently explained, it's doing some really, really cool stuff that other people aren't able to do. So how do you kind of reconcile this use of digital within something that's very analog? I
reconcile it by doing it.
Fair point.
I mean, okay, so let me. I understand what you're saying. Okay, I need to stress. Currently, I build I started out building synthesizer modules. Okay, now I'm building modular synthesizers.
Okay,
right?
Yeah. There's a difference.
I don't necessarily will always be building only modular synthesizers. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
I tell people I build music instruments. So when I think of a digital synthesizer and using digital, like there's lots of, I used to have this like idea that like eventually we'd get to the point where we're, doing like digital modules. Like, I want to do an FM module, and I want to do let's do a wavetable module. I don't need to do a damn wavetable module. Look, I have. Let's see if this. Here, look at this. Here.
It's all gone black.
There we go.
There we
okay,
go.
So if you look down here, okay. So this is the other part of my. This is the other part of my desk here. And what we have here is, this is the iridium.
Yep.
Okay. This is the peak. Okay. This is the TR8S. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is my Novation 49SL. And so this is the other part of my desk. You like the security camera? Anyway.
It's good.
Okay, so we're gonna go over my desk, right?
Okay.
Okay, so this is and then so there's the computer, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there's my video mixer.
Nice.
Wow.
Okay. Now here's some This is a rack, and I put this workstation together earlier this year because I basically lost the motivation to play music, and I don't really know how I'm going to get it back. But I can work on sounds and I can work on tracks. Mm-hmm. This right here, this is my collection of 1990s effects. Well, some of it.
So was that an Eventide there?
That's my other Eventide.
Oh,
see?
wow. Yeah.
There's my H3500.
Yeah.
And then here's my H3000 SE that I've had since
I've got one of those. They're great. Yeah, they're good, aren't they?
I love them. I need a third and a fourth.
God.
Eventide frustrates me because basically it's a company, like all of their engineers are these like their engineers have no love or respect for the what it is. Nobody buys an Eventide. Nobody is buying an H9000 because it was used on. People buy Eventide products because of this thing right here. Okay.
Right.
This is 90% of the motivation to buy an Eventide product is because they heard this. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not because they heard a 4000. It's not because they heard a 910. It's not because they heard an H9000. It's not even because they heard a space pedal or whatever, right? It's because this processor is on some extremely significant music, okay? Mm-hmm. And every time I see the Eventide engineers at NAMM, I tell them, you guys need to make a tabletop 3000. And they talk down to me and tell me that it's not possible. It is possible. It just takes a lot of work, and they're not interested.
It's got a very cult following, hasn't it? The H3000. I've
and
still got my one.
H3000s are going north of $2,000 right now.
Yeah.
So it's foolish to leave money on the table like that.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit annoyed about the stuff, the Eventide stuff put in the Moog One. There's been actually a little bit of talk on the group chat.
What do you want to know about it? I have you know that I have a Moog One here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have one, and lots of people on the group have them as well, and you know, it has it's a beautiful synthesizer, but it has still a few hang-ups. My personal wish is that they would do something with the effects on them. I think they're a little bit disappointing, to say the least.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Okay, so I was involved. I spent 5 weeks of my life in Asheville. Working on the Moog One. Okay, I was a consultant on this. Okay, 20 of the factory presets are mine. One of the best effects algorithm in the thing was something that I spec'd called stereo delay. Okay, stereo delay is when I make patches on the one, I only use stereo delay. I can call up a preset that uses it if I can remember how to use this damn thing. I have an interesting relationship with this thing. Let's see. Yeah, shore leave pad. I think this. Yeah. Okay. So this patch, right? Can you hear this?
Yeah.
So the effects on this are actually a pair of what the algorithm called stereo delay, one feeding into the other, and basically it's a stereo delay where there's like modulators on the right and the left channels that are independent. And I tried talking them into doing a more complicated implementation. They did like 90% of it, but listen. Like I'm not gonna. I understand why people are frustrated with the one. I mean, I wish it would. I don't know. I shouldn't say too much. I mean,
I think we've all got our wish list for it, and I just think this.
Yeah, I wish I had one.
The problem is, of course, you know, there's a team working on it, and I guess it's not a particularly big team, and we want everything yesterday. You know, I think some of the things they've improved on it, but you know, again, it's personal choice. We've all got different wishes, I guess, on it, and I think because we love it, and it's just got so much scope. I think we want it rather than yesterday, rather sooner than later. You know,
if I didn't love it and I didn't care about the people that worked on it, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have given it 5 weeks of my life. Okay. You know, 5 weeks.
Just one question, Sue. Actually, just when you change patch on the one, is there any way in the future that do you think that they can just initialize the effects without? Because sometimes when you change patches on the one, you get this horrible random effect on it, or I certainly do on mine, where the effects haven't initialized on it, and it's pretty horrible, and it's quite loud as well. Is that something that you know that they're working on? I'm sure they are, but quite a few of us have mentioned that the switch over when you actually change presets on the thing, there's this horrible sort of.
I haven't ran into that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I mean.
No.
Look, I basically here's what happened. I came back and I guess it was like 2018? That's when that's when the one came out, right? So I came back here with my prototype unit, and something happened which is absolutely not. I took it, the first gig that I took it to, the screen failed. Okay.
God.
And it's totally not their fault. Okay. Basically, like, I had an early prototype unit that there was a wrong gauge of ribbon cable used to connect the display to the main board. Okay. So I wasn't upset about this or anything. And I didn't talk about it publicly because I didn't want to, like, just. Anyway, so bottom line is, like, it took like a year for me to get. I didn't have a Moog one again until. It's kind of a long story, but basically, like, it took me 2 years. Like, I didn't really have my one that I was supposed to have from working on it, which was a majority of my payment. Okay, because I have a 16 voice unit. I didn't have this thing for 2 years after I finished working on it. Okay,
Wow.
and my presets do not sound the way they did when I wrote them, and I don't know how this is going to be resolved. So, and it's really the best. It's the most powerful analog synthesizer ever made, and anybody that says otherwise has never used it.
Oh, it's a terrific machine.
It is such an amazing synthesizer. But I don't know. Like, I guess, if somebody wants to get upset with me for being, open about it, like, that's fine, I guess.
No, it's interesting to talk about it.
I wish that.
Just a couple of questions have come up, actually. Why did Moog go with Eventide? What's the tie-up there?
I'm not going to speak for them.
Right.
Basically, like, the idea was that by contracting the, I think it made a lot of sense to listen. Writing reverb algorithms is hard, okay? And what do you know about, like, when you say, like, the Eventide effects in it, like, you don't know. I mean, okay, look, there's the reverbs are Eventide reverbs, okay? I've done side-by-side comparisons between the one and a space pedal, and they sound identical. Okay, they're very high quality reverbs. This has the best reverb of any synthesizer ever made. There are other effects that were coded internally. Okay, if you don't like those, well, I'm sorry, but I like stereo delay quite a bit. But I mean, I don't use the other. I don't use the other algorithms, so I'm the wrong person to ask questions about that.
That's just interesting. It's nice to speak to someone that's actually done a little bit of work with the machine, which is nice. There's lots of opinions.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's absolutely. But for me, it's as frustrating as it is amazing, just because it's so, oh God, it's so advanced, and I was away from it for 2 years, and I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Lovely looking piece of furniture as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
If you want to see me talk about the Moog One, go pull up the video from 2 years ago when it was released, where Amos and I are going over like some patches that I made for it, and I explain it. That should be like the beginning and end of what I have to say about the Moog One in public.
There we go. Okay. We'll grab that link and we'll share that in just a moment.
Well, so Chris,
yeah, go ahead.
Wanted us to say that Cool Piano Dude is his favourite preset on the Moog One. So,
thank you very much. Yeah. That's, that was I do. So the story of that preset is that I
can we get you on camera? There we go.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna pull up the preset.
Let's hear this preset.
Yeah.
So come on.
This is now. I don't know if this. I don't think it sounded like this when I made it. Okay. So don't. I don't.
Come on, you've hyped it up now.
Can you hear that? Is it fine?
Yep. Very nice. Very nice.
And so the Cool Piano Dude was my. I had a goal. I had sound design goals when I showed up in Asheville, and I was like, I'm gonna do Gordon Reed's acoustic piano patch from Synth Secrets. Okay, and that's what it sounded like. It didn't sound anything like an acoustic piano, but it sounded awesome. And by the way, I'm not like, when I say like I made his patch and it didn't sound like an acoustic piano, like I'm not criticizing his patch. I'm merely saying that like when I attempted to interpret what it was that he had written, then it wound up sounding like this, and it didn't wind up sounding like that. Let me turn that off. Okay. But. And so it wound up sounding like halfway between a Rhodes and a Wurlitzer. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And anybody who's like seen the anybody who's seen the video with Amos, hey Bubba, can you get the Cool Piano Dude shirt? Okay. Anybody who's seen that video with Amos or been to Knobcon knows that one of the shirts that we sell at Knobcon has a picture of a mini Moog on it, and it says "Cool Piano Dude!" exclamation point. Okay?
Can I ask, Sue? Because lots of people have been asking this: is there going to be a Knobcon this year?
Oh yeah, I think we exhibitor email reminder today.
Okay.
I'm gonna be spending the next week ramping up marketing. I mean, during this period, I think it's okay to kind of oh, there we go. Yeah. I forgot I have control over that. But I think that it's unreal. Like we had 1,000 people at Knobcon 2019. Okay.
Right.
This event went in 8 years. It went from 90 people to 1,000 people. And then 2020 happened. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was definitely like the worst year that anybody alive has been.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right? And we had to postpone the event a year. And we have to do it. I signed a contract, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the hotel's working with us quite a bit, and we will we need to follow whatever the mandates are from the hotel and the government. That's what we're doing. And,
it's a great name, Knobcon. I just love
thank
it.
you.
Where did that come from?
Somebody asked. Somebody asked.
Yeah.
All right. Knobcon. Well, who do you think named Knobcon?
Because it's certainly not the name for a show in the UK, because clearly, you know, we're smutty reprobates, and that would have just drawn too many sniggers. But
really?
Yeah. Oh, seriously, anything with that uses the word knob and everyone goes. So yeah.
Well, it's about
because we're childish.
Describing our prime minister.
Yeah.
Knobcon is a synthesizer. It is a synthesizer convention. It is a convention for people who use electronic devices to make music with. Mm-hmm. Those electronic devices could be drum machines, and they could be a Hammond organ. And everything has a knob on it. Everything's got knobs or buttons. And for some reason, ButtCon sounded like. Anybody who doesn't like the name Knobcon should think about the alternatives and realize that Knobcon was the obvious choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Knob and ButtCon sounds interesting.
So, do you have any dates or anything it's set in?
Well, yeah, it's right there on the website.
There you go. September the 10th till 12th.
Bro.
Chicagoland, USA.
Yeah, and I mean we have, you know, we've got there's one gold sponsor missing from that thing right there. There's a fifth that isn't listed. Oh, thanks. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I know. I thought maybe you had yours. Okay, so this, you see this?
Cool.
See this? Cool piano, dude. Okay, so this is a misprint. I mean, originally the shirt was like black and white, and this is an version of it because they didn't have black shirts. But anyway, so the patch on the Moog 1 is named after this shirt. Okay, and that shirt was designed by one of, you know. Okay, when I say my best friend, I don't mean to say that I only have one best friend. I think that, well, I mean, it's kind of important to point that out. When you become an adult, you no longer have like one best friend, unless you're very lonely, I guess. But I'll just say that like my dead best friend made that shirt. DJ Frowntown, the synth comedy YouTuber that made some videos like 7 years ago and lost the will to create art. And I actually this tie clip, right? It's a Peacemaker.
Oh yeah.
See?
Yep.
Yeah. I bought it for him and forgot to give it to him, and I found it. I found it after he died. I was doing like therapy cleaning, and I came across it. I've been wearing it ever since. And then the next year, then I went and worked on the Moog 1, and so I did. Yeah, Cool Piano Dude was a. And some of those patches I made are named for people that I'm friends with, and that was the one. It was named for him. And actually, the first film scored with the Moog 1 ever was a video that Mark and I did in 2013, and I never put music to it. And I composed the music for it while I was in my hotel room in Asheville. I never actually publicly published it, and I'll do that this week or so. Like it was a comedy thing, and at the time I wanted to put it out, but I was afraid that people would get upset because of the content of it, but I don't care anymore.
So Knobcon, 3-day event in Chicagoland at the Hyatt Regency Schaumburg.
Yes.
Tell us, people that are going to be lucky enough to go to this event, what are they going to see?
Well, there's going to be a lot of cool. Yeah.
Best answer ever.
We're going to see each other, and that's the nicest part. And
absolutely.
I don't, we have like, I don't know, we've got a lot of, nobody who sponsored or bought a booth or a ticket asked for their money back last year.
Okay.
So I'm operating under the assumption that these people are going to show up.
Okay. So all tickets from last year are valid for this year.
Obviously.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously.
I think I'll go get some of those T-shirts printed up. I'll have one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to place a new T-shirt order for this year.
So anything exciting this year that you know about that's going to show up at the show that maybe we haven't seen? Anything new and exciting, or any exclusives you can give us?
I don't know. I wish I could. I mean, okay, yeah. There's nothing I could tell you about.
Okay.
Okay, I would be violating a contract if I told you.
Understood.
But just trust me, cool stuff.
Cool stuff will be there. Absolutely. Oh, fantastic. So, I mean,
Cool stuff.
yeah, we get to go to some of these events. Certainly, I mean, I get to go to some in the UK. I was hoping to do, some of the stuff in Europe when COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And generally, they're either very consumer focused, for people like me who buy stuff, or they're kind of very trade focused. I'm guessing Knobcon is for people like us more than it is a kind of a trade event. Is it very hands-on? Can we just go? Is it noisy? Is it do we have quiet rooms? Do you have separate demo rooms for people? How's the layout work?
We tried having a quiet room. That was a failure. It was just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But no, it's a. No, there's an exhibit hall, and there's jam, there's a jam space. It's actually called the Kick Out the Jam Space.
Cool.
MF. You get anybody here like the KLF?
Oh yeah, of course.
KLF,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah. So like we've got, get the button. Just get the button off the. Yeah, just get the button. Yeah, this is. Thankfully, got somebody here that can go.
Yeah, always good to have help. Yeah,
but no, we got a jam space. We got a room for synth DIY workshops.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. Come on,
Zoom,
focus
there
on
you
this.
go.
You see this?
Kick out the jam space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Do you the all-seeing wall at the top?
Yeah.
No. The
That's cool.
Yeah. By the way, you know that in America we have this. This crap is on our money, right? Like the annuitas coptus or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I just took the eye and I replaced it with a smiley face. Like.
So you've got
I
a jam space.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say you've got the jam space, and people can go along and try stuff, and there's
people are encouraged to play with each other in the jam space.
Ooh,
if you
that
just
could get
want to
messy.
play with gear, that's what the exhibit hall is for.
Gotcha.
Right,
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
That's good. Yeah. And what about have you got any guest speakers? Because I know you had like one of my heroes, Dr. John Chowning, a few years ago.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
that was absolutely unreal.
Yeah.
Okay. We had to. This is going to sound funny. We had to tear down a wall, because so there's two lecture halls. There's like there's the lecture hall, and then there's the paid programming hall. Okay. Paid programming, sponsored content. Native advertising. Sometimes it's called. Anyway, so we have Knobcon. Like, this is a very honest event. Okay. I don't want people to think that it's anything it's not. So when people walk into the paid programming hall, I want them to understand these companies have paid to be there. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I am upfront and like I want to be honest.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
So Chowning was in the main lecture hall. and there were so many people that wanted to see him talk that we had to unzip the wall. Like there's like a divider.
Yeah, like a concertina wall,
rooms.
isn't it? Yeah.
So we had to fold up that divider so that there was enough seating for how many people wanted to see this man talk.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Standing room only. It was standing room only.
Oh, what? Yeah, I mean,
It was
what an amazing
standing room
man.
only a half an hour before he started.
Wow. Yeah.
And you know, he was amazing. He was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it on YouTube. It was really interesting, and slightly baffling as well, because you got to understand some pretty complex stuff when you're talking about the stuff that he was talking about. But yeah, it's he's very engaging, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a great great speaker.
Yeah. And do you have anyone lined up for this year that you can tell us about?
No.
No. Okay.
I mean,
yes and no.
not at all, and no, not even. No, I mean, I don't even. I'm not even like being coy here. I know I don't have.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this. Okay,
if you could have anyone, dead or alive, to come and talk at your at Knobcon for 1 year, for one session, who would be top of your list?
Alive would be more interesting, I suppose.
Yeah.
David Van Coovering.
Okay.
David Van Coovering is the guy that actually sold Mini Moogs.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I have a list of people that I have not asked yet, so I'm not going to include any of those.
Okay.
Because literally everybody that I've wanted to come and talk, has. David Van Coovering had a stroke right after he agreed. I asked him in January, and then he had a stroke in March.
Oh man!
And so he couldn't even talk. Okay, so that's why David didn't. But David Van Coovering is a primary influence of mine. I found the stories about him in vintage synthesizers and analog days. When people hear me say that a salesman was a giant influence on me, they may think that this is because I'm some sort of highly commercial person or whatever. But David Van Coovering was a synthesizer evangelist.
Yeah.
And he was very, very, very creative. He was a very creative guy.
Yeah.
Was he his time before John Bowen? Because I know John Bowen used to sell and demonstrate Mini Moogs back in the early 70s.
No. David Van Coovering was the first guy.
Was he? Okay.
David Van Coovering invented the Mini Moog market single-handedly.
Right.
This man toured Holiday Inns, and he would he would go to a new town and rent a room at okay, you guys have motor lodges? You know what a Holiday Inn is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in America, there was a motor lodge chain called the Holiday Inn, and most people don't realize this, but hotels used to be enjoyable places to be that had bars in them and live music and whatnot. And sometimes you just go hang out at the hotel. Okay. Because boomers had all the fun, we get to have nothing but misery. So David would go from town to town with a Mini Moog in his trunk, and he'd show up at get a room at the Holiday Inn, and go into the bar and talk to the keyboard player before the set and be like, "Hey, I got this thing in my car. You want to play with it? It's called a Mini Moog. It's like a Moog synthesizer that's small."
Cool piano dude.
And then we'd bring it in, and the keyboard player would just go nuts about he'd play it, and David Van Coovering is the guy. He's the reason that synthesizers have a big logo on the front of them, because David Van Coovering invented that. Okay,
right.
He put the Moog logo in a big sticker on the back of the Mini Moog so that the audience would know what that
playing.
Instrument was. Okay.
Okay.
So
now he has my ultimate respect.
Oh, and then David would after the second set, okay, because bands would play. I mean, I don't know the way pub bands in Britain do it or whatever, but a bar band in America, it's usually like a 4-hour set, sometimes a 5-hour set. You play 3 sets, okay? So after the second set, he would go up and he would pull the fuse out of the fucking mini mode and put it in his pocket. And the keyboard player would be so upset that he couldn't get to, that it's not working. What's wrong? And David would basically just go out to his car and take a nap, something like that, and then he would come back after the set and be like, oh, do you want one of these? And the keyboard player would be like, yeah, how much is it? And he tells him, well, it's a lot of money. Well, back then, if you were playing in a bar at the fucking Holiday Inn, you were making a shitload of money. Guys were getting, you have to understand, like back then, guys were getting paid $500 a night for a 4-hour gig, okay? That's back when like a Hammond organ cost like $3,000.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I mean, I've never been paid more than $200 for a gig my entire life. Anyway, and so he'd be like, okay, meet me tomorrow afternoon at this music store, right? And he'd walk into the local music store that sold like pianos and saxophones or Hammonds or whatever, and he'd be like, I got this guy here. He wants to buy a thing that I sell called the Mini Moog. And part of the story that I left out is that he's already been to this music store the day before and gotten thrown out. Because the music store is like, what the hell is this thing? It's not a fucking Hammond organ. It's not a piano. We can't sell this crap. So like, and David comes back with this guy who, who wants to buy this thing. And he's like, you got to buy 2 now. You got to buy 1 to sell him, and then 1 to sell him, and 1 for your inventory, right?
Yeah.
And so and David Van, he made the Mini Moog the most important synthesizer of all time.
Yeah. I mean, we had a guest on a couple of weeks ago. And John Bickle, who is the VP of Sales for Modal Electronics.
Yeah.
And he said, when I went to him and said, look, John, I'd like you to come on the show and talk about stuff that you've done, he was like, well, why do you want to talk to me? I'm just kind of like the sales guy. I said, yeah, but your job is to put these things in front of the people that want them and that creates that desire. And, he came on the show and he told some amazing stories about how he had to end up supplying microphones to Prince, and he couldn't get in the gig because they didn't believe him until they opened the case to show him the gold-plated pistol microphone that was obviously Prince's mic, and all these amazing stories. And these people they're hugely important to what we all love because like you say, with the names on the back of the synths, I mean, genius. And I just thought that was just like marketing, just cynical marketing, because here in the UK, when you went on Top of the Pops, which was this for those that don't know, was the kind of prime time hit parade show every Thursday night on in the UK, they would often have those names gaffer taped out because you're not allowed to advertise on the BBC, but sometimes they weren't, and that's how people like me learned about the synthesizers that our heroes used and then created the desire. So that's why that stack of Yamaha over there is there, because I saw DX7, I saw Emulator, I saw Fairlight, because it was all on the back of the thing. It was just a genius move, absolutely genius move. So totally get where you're coming from with the whole sales thing. And do you think you'll be able, obviously I don't want to go into huge details about somebody's personal health issues, but are you fingers crossed that hopefully you'll get him to come and talk? Or
I'm sorry, he's dead.
Oh shit,
you said living or dead.
Oh right, sorry. No, you said he had a stroke. I just assumed nowadays,
and then he died.
Right, okay. So no, my apologies. When you want a hole to open up and sink, I can do that because I can just turn my camera off.
Don't feel bad. I didn't say that he died.
No, when you see the thing is nowadays people have strokes and survive. It's it's an amazing world we live in. But no, I understand. And so okay, fine. So you won't get him on because that would be awkward.
I would say like the other one that I would love to get that I don't think is ever going to be possible is Dave Cockerell.
Okay, yeah.
Dave Cockerell is the most important engineer in the history of electronic music technology. Okay,
Agreed. Yeah.
This guy is EMS, Akai,
Yeah.
Electro-Harmonics. He is 187 years old, and he is still designing products for EMS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, he's unbelievable. Like Bob Moog might be the most important. He was not an engineer. He was a physicist. Okay, he was. To call Bob Moog an engineer is inappropriate for what he did, because the guy could visualize electrons going through transistors in a way that, like, but I would say, like, I mean, so when I call Dave Cockerell the most important engineer, I'm not doing a disservice to Bob here. Bob is obviously, he has an importance that is impossible to understate, but Dave Cockerell is someone that needs to be talked about more.
I agree.
Right? So
yeah, no, I did some work or freelance work for Akai many years ago through Steve at Hollow Sun, and Steve was kind of sorry.
Rest in peace.
Indeed, absolutely. And Steve worked with Dave and told many stories about Dave's efforts, and would actually, say, "Oh, I've just spoken to Dave," and it was just like, it's like somebody just been on the phone to God, because this guy's had a hand in some of the most important instruments, and I'm a huge Akai fan. I've still got 3 or 4 samplers down there. Which his influence is all the way through them. It's fantastic. But he would be an interesting one. So yeah, cool. I'm conscious of the time. We're just coming up to the 2-hour mark almost. We've got a few minutes left, so we're not going to just stop dead there. What's in your future, Suit? What's coming? You've got Knobcon in September. You just started. You told us about the modular instruments that you're having the extrusions done, and that's going to be coming. Anything else interesting?
Well, there's stuff I can't talk about. I'm doing sound design. I just done a huge sound design project.
Okay.
That I'm about 90% done with for. I don't feel comfortable even. I can't tell you who it's for.
Okay.
I can't wait until you can bring me back, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
I was we basically recorded. So the studio that I'm in, I'm gonna actually you see this?
Yep.
Okay. So this is my studio, and right here, this is one of my Hammond organs. This is my B3.
Yeah.
This right here, this area that I'm standing in, this is where I normally record drums at.
Okay.
And these are my mic preamps. I've got an RME Octamic, and then the rest of my Mac pre's are all British. I've got Focusrite 8-channel ISA, the 828, and that has the Dante card in it.
Okay.
I have that connected to my Yamaha TF rack over at Dante Network. And then I have the world's largest collection of BSS mic preamps. I'll bet you didn't even know BSS made mic preamps. But up here we see that? Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
We got drums here because I was recording individual sample hits and new reconstructions of classic breakbeats.
Okay.
With a drummer that I've been playing with since 1997. And we did everything up here in this room. His drum kit was right here. And just there's tons of stuff that we've done. I don't know. Like I'm at the collation stage, basically.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so So there, yeah, like I mean, have you ever tried to reconstruct hot pants?
No.
Okay.
Can't say I have.
You know, we reconstructed Apache.
Wow.
Like he actually listened. We figured out what the most common 2 bars of Apache that's been sampled was, and then looped that, and then Corey, he actually notated the bongo part, okay? And we programmed the bongo part into my Akai Force. We were using the Force to basically act as a click track for him to play the beats against. Okay. And so the bongo, we reconstructed the bongo part. It's basically what it sounds like, a General MIDI, like bongo. Anyway, and then he played the drums to that. And then we figured out which 2-bar loop sounded the best of his drumming, and then I made a loop of that, and then he overdubbed the bongos on top of his own playing after we deleted the sample bongos.
Okay.
So, definitely, like, Apache's the most complicated breakbeat that we reconstructed, but we're all, we also did some that have like like Hot Pants, Apache, Amen. Well, something called Ashley's Roach Clip, which was used on Set Adrift on Memory Bliss. And,
yes.
That's what I think of when I hear this beat, but it was also on it's also on all sorts. I mean, it's like on like 600. Just go to whosampled.com and type in.
Sure. Sounds fascinating.
But I actually, like, even though I build analog synthesizers, I'm super into 1990s drum and bass. I've seen LTJ Bookham like 12 times.
Nice.
I was at LTJ Bookham's 40th birthday party.
Oh, very nice.
Which was here in Chicago, and I absolutely adore classic breakbeat stuff, and I approached this company and I said, hey, I see this thing and I want to do this thing for you, and what do you think? And so we did it.
Cool.
And I'm almost done with it. Hopefully I didn't violate my NDA, like,
hopefully
going this far, but I didn't tell you who it was.
You didn't? No.
No, technically this should be they should be thanking me.
Yeah.
For telling you about it.
For dangling the carrot. Seriously, when it drops, you do let us know, and
I would love to.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Because, like, we can, like, I love, and I recorded all this stuff with these great mic preamps, and my own mic collection in this room. For reverb, I actually use this. This is only one room, okay? So you might see, this room, this is only that's the front half of my studio.
Okay.
And that room is only half of the building. So there's a whole other side of the building that's the same size.
Okay.
So for reverb, I actually throw a mic over there. And then I use that as reverb. And so, like, my drum, I love the way my drums sound. My drum recordings sound here.
Yeah.
So like this stuff that we're putting out, okay, the stuff that's going to be, this content which will be deployed at a date that I cannot name because I don't know, and I don't want to give you any hints as to what it is. This content will have no digital reverb on it at all, and it's all acoustic recordings. If I do any compression or processing, it's going to be through analog tape in post. The stuff is going to sound real clean, and there's not going to be, there's going to be, the only plugins I'm using are EQ and some, some limiting, on the loops. But I'm even trying to avoid using compression on the single hits.
Okay.
And actually manually editing each individual cycle so that I can kind of manually compress things.
Right.
Because I'm running into a problem with limiters where they actually clip, they'll hard clip transients.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to just make something that sounds as nice as possible.
It sounds fascinating. What about your own personal music? Any future plans to release anything soon? Or
I'd have to make something.
You'd have to.
I told
because you mentioned that you were kind of like
lost, I've lost my desire to play. Okay,
Sure.
I have these instruments set up here in basically a futile attempt to get me to sit down and play them. Okay, the stuff here that I've got on the desk, I set this up just so that I could like maybe work on tracks.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to work on some drum and bass. I'd like to work on some vaporwave. You know, I made a track while I took a vacation in October, and I went down to Asheville and Atlanta and Bristol, Virginia, and I drove up the Blue Ridge Parkway for a little bit. And while I was down there, I made a track that I need to finish. It's a old school drum and bass track. It's like it sounds like a 1994 drum and bass. But I made the whole thing with a sub 37 and an Akai Force and one drum, a King Crimson drum loop. And and I made all the sounds in the track are samples of the sub 37.
Okay.
Because the sub 37 that was the first synthesizer that I worked on for Moog.
Okay.
And I have two of them, and I will never get rid of my sub 37. They do things that nothing else can do.
Sure. Cool. Gentlemen, Ben, Simon, have you got anything else that you'd like to throw at?
Fascinating. I was just going to refer back to Chris's questions. Chris again is asking how did your influences, Keith Emerson and Tomita and anyone else, affect both your playing and the synth modules that you make?
Thank you. Well, the Keith Emerson, I mean, you get when you like influences manifest in weird ways. Okay. Another couple of like giant influences on me are like Lorena McKennett and Anya.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do I make music that sounds like Celtic Middle Eastern fusion music for 1990s wine ants? No. But I love it. I absolutely love it. And like Lorena's approach to making music or Anya's approach to making music, it manifests itself in that stuff is a big influence on me.
Yeah.
But just because I don't make music that sounds like Keith Emerson. Okay.
Yeah.
But the attitude that he used and that he approached making music with is an influence. There like the sound of nothing sounds like exponential glide. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like when you hear a sweep, on like something. So one of the I don't know if anybody, for the people that have a Moog 1, one of my presets that made it into the final was this is so this is the reconstruction of Keith Emerson's patch from the beginning. His solo on From the Beginning is basically this sound. I think I haven't really gone over this sound since I got the thing back, and things don't sound like they did. But the sound of this kind of glide here. Okay, so that glide also you'd hear that in. Here's another great. This is.
Anyone remember the clangers?
Huh? Oh, no. Well, this is supposed to be the Tomita whistle, right?
Yeah, it's
But,
very Tomita-ish.
You know, like, and Tomita did that with the Moog modular.
Yeah.
And so that was a goal of mine to get that sound. But another sound that you maybe, you know, so like. Okay, so like the Doctor Who theme.
Yeah.
That when Delia made that sweep on the test oscillator, that was the equivalent of exponential glide because of what it was and the way that she played it. And I think that like exponential, like I love the way Also, by the way, exponential glide on any synthesizer has a constant time. Okay, so going from that's the same. That's the same.
Yeah,
that's the same time. So Keith Emerson and Isao Tomita both always kept their left hand on the glide knob when they were playing. So, so you have to, you've got to kind of like control the glide time like while you're using exponential glide. Right. Whereas like on a mini Moog, the linear glide is a constant rate glide. Mm-hmm. So like I mean like just something like just the glide of the soloing can be an influence. You know, I after I was able to get like a sub 37, I actually stopped soloing with my mini Moog because it just didn't sound like a modular because it sounds like a mini Moog. And even though the sub 37 doesn't sound as good as a modular, like in terms of pure tone, it can be a more expressive instrument for soloing because of the exponential glide and the aftertouch and the way the octave buttons, like on the sub 37, if you hold down a note and you hit the octave button, it's like you played an octave. Okay, so it'll glide up to that other note, and so even though it has a 3-octave keyboard, it's an incredible soloing synthesizer because you've got right over on the left hand you've got those octave buttons. And even though it's got a 3-octave keyboard, you can do amazingly wide soloing with it that actually sounds like you're playing it on a larger keyboard because of those octave buttons.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you have to go all the way from low C to high C when you're soloing. Now obviously like if you're not able to solo, so like on the CS60. You've got 5 octaves, and that's important because you're going to be playing something else. If you have a CS60 because you want to be Vangelis, then you're only playing it with one hand when you're when you're soloing. Okay, and so having like 5 octaves is handy, but you don't need 5 octaves when you've got when you got something with a good left-hand controller like the Sub 37.
Yeah.
And that's where the influences come in weird ways. Like Tangerine Dream is a giant influence on my designs because of all the custom gear that they bought instead of doing. Okay, they basically bought instead of wasting all their money on drugs like everyone else in the 70s did, they wasted it on ridiculously hilarious custom equipment.
Yeah,
that will never be properly documented in the way that I think it should be. I think it was the design, the Project Electronic stuff was some kind of comedy. I mean, it was just the way that like even that they went about it the way they did. Like Project Electronic was anybody who is not familiar with this. Tangerine Dream had a bunch of custom gear made for them by a German scientific measurement company called Project Electronic.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that the process that Ed Froese used to select this company to build custom stuff for them was he opened the phone book and looked under scientific. He was like, oh, this company, they make scientific instruments. Well, they could make us instruments, right? That's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, they make like magnetometers and all this other shit. And the Tangerine Dream was like, "Can you make us a synthesizer?" And they were like, "Yeah, really? Oh yeah, we got some crazy ideas." So all this stuff, the Project Electronics system is an incredibly complicated sequencer and routing system where all of the voice modules are actually ARP submodules. And so the project electronic modular that was built for Peter Baumann and then wound up in the possession of Christoph Franke is essentially a very, very complicated 2600.
Right.
So the envelopes are 2600 envelopes, the VCAs are 2600 VCAs, the filters are 2600 filters, and the oscillators are 2600 oscillators. What makes it the Project Electronic system is just like the way that it's set up and like all the routing. You can play the whole thing without any patched cables at all. It was so big it wouldn't fit through the doors of some venues on their USA tour in '77. I think that's why they let Peter Baumann take it with him when he quit. Is like they were like, we can't even tour with this thing. Like, of course you can take it. But they spent like $120,000 in 1977 dollars on it.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
And I think that's a fascinating. So I would love to know more. My entire modular sequencing system is an attempt to bring the functionality of the Project Electronics sequencing system into the modern Moog format. The other guy that had exactly the same goal was Mr. Moon Man. What's his name? Gert Gelas. Very nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed Buehler and Gert Gelas developed they worked together. Basically, Ed asked Gert to make stuff for him. I think that's what happened with Moon Modular. And they did it in a different way. And it's not the way that I would have done it because obviously I did it a different way. But I went for more of a modular approach. So instead of having like an 8-voice, instead of having an 8-channel, 8-stage sequencer, I have an 8-stage sequencer, and then you buy 4 of them if you want to have 4 channels.
Yeah.
You just kind of build the system. You build the modular system the modular sequencing system that you want to have. I made a modular sequencer because it's a modular synthesizer, and I think modular synthesizers should be modular. If you want to have something that isn't modular, buy a not modular synthesizer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Saying that, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Just saying that, you said earlier in the show that like your preferred interface with a synthesizer is a keyboard.
Yes.
Would you? I know you've got the radiophonic things, which are like self-contained.
Yep.
Synthesizers, but would you ever like to make a synthesizer with a keyboard and it's all self-contained, like the maybe not Moog 1 level, but a mono synth or.
Who says I don't? Hey man, you got to aim for the moon, and basically I am somebody who thinks big.
Right.
Okay.
So
yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
And say, obviously, I want to make a keyboard. The next thing I'll tell you, the next thing that I'm gonna work on is a MIDI to CV interface.
Okay.
For my modular system, but that didn't start out as a MIDI to CV interface. It started out as it's something else. Basically, I'm going to make something for people who want to do polyphonic stuff with a modular synthesizer.
Do you still have any affiliation with Moog? Do you still do some work for Moog, or is that something that you possibly may do in the future?
I mean, after this video, probably not.
I doubt that. Our influence and reach is not that wide.
Oh, never underestimate people.
Anyway, on that note, let's draw things to a close. Sue, it's been an absolute joy to have you on, and we would love you to come back when you are ready to tell us some of the stuff, in more detail. And obviously, as Knobcon gets closer, and you get anything you want to kind of share with us in terms of what's going on, please do. We'll love to get you back on at some time soon and hear how things have progressed. So thank you once again for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you also to Simon for stepping in literally at the last moment to come in and fill Chris's unfillable shoes, but you did a very good job.
Pleasure.
Yes.
And have you got anything you're working on Sunday, as I know, because I was going to come and see you, but work's more important. Yeah. But what's going on in the infinite synth cave?
Why did I give you a reverb, Rob?
It's not that one.
Oh, is it not?
No.
Okay.
It's my cheaper one, this one.
I actually got I'm on a mission to sort out my garage, which you've seen. You can see.
Yeah. Do you want any help emptying it? Because I know you've got some really cool stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm going to make a conscious attempt at that, but probably going to be distracted by the weather now that it's starting to warm a little bit.
Yes.
We'll see.
Okay, cool. Ben,
my Vector synthesizer is turning up from Czechoslovakia. I pre-ordered one of those, so that's exciting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Although I did get stiffed by the Brexit bloody customs.
Yeah.
So.
Do you know, I read somewhere somebody else getting stiffed in the other direction, which there was kind of a weird kind of sense of like, oh, well, it's not just us bringing things into the UK. This person had bought something from the UK and had it shipped to the EU and got stiffed in that respect as well. And so it was I didn't take any pleasure from it, but it was nice to know that it's not just us.
Yeah.
I've got my Sonicware Live and XFM hopefully arriving next month, so I'm kind of a bit dubious about how much they're going to slap on to that. But anyway, Ben, how about you? Anything interesting in your future over the bank holiday weekend? Because
rehearsals start on Tuesday for the band, so that's a big one for us.
That's good. Yeah,
but all programmed up, ready to actually attempt
Lovely.
To do it now.
Well, good luck with that.
So,
good luck with that. So let's tell you about, as we always do, who we've got coming up to fill that guest hotspot. Next week, we're going to be joined by our very dear friend, Dr. Manny Fernandez, FM programmer extraordinaire, Yamaha. What's the word? I don't know. He's not an employee, but he delivers so much for them in terms of the FM range, the montage, the Modi X, the Reface, and of course the VLs and the VPs and stuff. He's worked on all of those. He'll be joining us next week. He's going to be taking some time out from his day job to come and join us. And of course, we'll probably be talking a lot about the Codemo Essence FM and how he's finding that over the last few weeks. The following week, we're not entirely sure if we're going to have a live show or not. And that's my fault. And I have to apologise in advance because I have an obsession with synthesizers, but I also have an obsession with vinyl and and music that's recorded as such. And Record Store Day, there's going to be two kind of Record Store Day events. One's happening on June the 12th, and the other one is happening on July 17th. And I'm one of those sad sacks that goes and queues outside the shop from usually the night before, because it's kind of like a fun thing to do, and there's a bunch of us that do it. So there probably won't be a live show on June the 11th, because I did ask the guys if they'd like to run this whole thing that you don't see, it's all here, and I didn't get a kind of favourable response. We might do something pre-recorded. I don't know. We'll have something, I'm sure. But if not, the following week we are going to be joined by Roger Lyons. Roger, as we've said before, has been the keyboard tech for bands like New Order, Alt J, Kaiser Chiefs, and many, many more. So we're going to be getting his unique spin on things and learn about his use of electronic equipment and his experience with it in a live situation, how all that kind of stuff goes down. So that's on June 18th. And then the following week, we'll be joined by, and he's in the chat room, Mr. Kent Spong will be here, repairer extraordinaire, servicing everyone's keyboard since the year dot, although he'll probably slap me for saying that. But yeah, we're going to get his unique spin on things, from that side of the fence, which will be really, really interesting. And then the week after that, on July 2nd, I'm personally very excited about this, and I know Ben's rather gutted because I think you've got a gig on the night of July 2nd. Yeah. But we will be joined by the one and only JJ Yexalik of Art of Noise fame, and of course production credits, writing credits, playing credits on all sorts of wonderful hit records over the last 20-30 years. So JJ will be joining us, and he and I will probably be having a good old Fairlight nerding session on July 2nd. And we've got one of Suit's friends, and one of my friends. We have mutual friends, believe it or not, coming on at the end of July. Mr. Mark Doty. We've snagged him. We've nailed him to the wall, and he's promised me he will join us on July 30th. We've got some other guests lined up or in the works, and I would love to tell you them. I've got them all here on my screen. I could slip and show you one or two of them, but I won't. Because until they've kind of like figuratively signed on the dotted line, I don't want to jinx it. But trust me, that I'm looking at four images there, and one is one of my all-time synth heroes. Another one is another one of my all-time synth heroes. Actually, the third one is kind of one of my all-time musical heroes, not just synths, but musical. And the fourth one is, it's just a genius. You won't be able to work anything out from that lot, but trust me when I say that 2021 is shaping up quite nicely in terms of our guests. And our guest this week has been no less of a joy and an honour to have on the show. He's disappeared off his camera, which is why I'm filling in. Oh, he switched. No, there he is. He's coming back with his. I've got to say that I am going to make it a requirement of all future guests that they have a multi-camera setup.
Yeah, and a wireless mic.
With a wireless mic.
With a wireless mic. Yeah.
From now on, it's going to be a prerequisite.
I had intended on doing part of this interview sitting in the if you see that yellow chair in the back.
Oh, down the end,
yeah. I wanted to be sitting there. That would be so funny.
But it's brilliant. The dynamics of everything has been fantastic. It's kept me fascinated watching. Yeah. And can you please also send a big thanks to Bubba as well for coming on and doing his impromptu Sensel review.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for tolerating that. Also, I'm glad that he was able to bring you some information. I'd also like to point out that, you asked about, they were saying nice things about you, Bubba.
We love you, Bubba.
Yeah. But you asked me about speakers at Knobcon, and I would point out that, with almost absolute certainty that Mark Doty will be there.
Fantastic.
So,
in his own personal capacity or that of Book Club?
Huh?
Will it be in his own personal capacity, or will he be representing Book Club?
He just shows up to tell people about what he thinks about something.
Yeah, he has a habit of doing that. Yeah.
So
I was also thinking about having
I'm
sorry.
So he'll have a poly root under his arm.
Yeah.
Oh no!
You goddamn will like this.
Carrying you with him. But... No, I also wanted to have a lecture called Paul Schreiber Talks Shit. Because I just want to put Paul Schreiber at a lectern with a microphone and just have him be Paul Schreiber for 2 hours. He's already agreed to this. It's not this is.
See, I can envisage an event where Mark shows up and does what he does, and people throw stuff at him. I think that maybe put him in some stocks.
Well, what do you think about I thought about maybe having an Oxford-style debate between Mark Doty and I on the relative merits of drum machines.
Ooh.
So, I mean, what we do is, like I have some sort of like, you have to have like, for an Oxford style debate, you have to have, you start out with a thesis, right? A statement. Yeah. And then you poll the audience to see who agrees with the statement or disagrees with the statement. And then you have these two, you have these two mucky mucks like argue with each other in front of these people, and then at the end of their arguments,
poll them again.
You poll the audience again. That's an Oxford style debate.
Yeah.
So I want to do an Oxford style debate with Mark Doty on the relative merits of using drum machines at all, but I don't have a thesis statement or something like that. So if somebody in the the chat could maybe come up with that would be great.
We need to make that happen, and we need to capture it on film and preserve it for all time.
So one of the reasons I got into video is because I have recorded every Knobcon lecture, audio and video, and I have had such enormous difficulty with video editing that I basically got into doing live video stuff. I no longer produce YouTube videos. I'm only interested in live streaming. I'm also not interested in YouTube exclusively. I want to simulcast to, I'm simulcasting to Facebook and YouTube, but I'd also like to do DLive and whatever, probably some shady Russian video sites too. Why not? Like, why does no? You need to diversify. You can't put all of your eggs in the YouTube basket anymore. They're not a trustworthy company. So I do not have time to construct YouTube videos, but I obviously have time to get in front of a camera and do live television inside the internet. Like one of the things I'd like to do is, like this. So this camera setup right, that's a GoPro 6. It pointed at that stuff, and I have other idea. I'd like to do streams where I just like program a synthesizer or make a track or something like that. I just haven't gotten around to it because I've been too busy filling orders. But anyway, sorry, but you guys have been great. Thanks for being super nice.
No, thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you. It's been an absolute joy, a real joy. Thank you very much indeed. So just to remind everyone, if you want to follow us during the week in between the shows, of course you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and of course YouTube. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get the notifications, and then you'll know whenever we do a show, it'll be there. If you want to email us, you can info@prosynthnetwork.com. If you want to know more about Knobcon, it's knobcon.com. And if you want to know more about what Suit is doing with his hardware, it's stgsoundlabs.com. So go and visit there and give him some money for some cool stuff. We will be back next week, same time, same place, with Dr. Manny Fernandez. And until then, take the greatest of care. Get your jabs if you haven't already. Stay safe, wash your hands, space face, whatever it is that they say. But yeah, just be careful, and we will see you all same time, same place next week. Thanks for staying around. Thanks to everyone in the chat room. Thanks to everyone that's watching on Catch Up. We appreciate your patronage. Take the greatest of care. Bye-bye.
Bye.